Join me as I dive into the Dunning-Kruger effect and see if I can figure out why some people are so convinced they're amazing at things they're really not. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a fascinating phenomenon that has gained significant attention in understanding human psychology and self-perception. It's a concept that reveals how people who are incompetent in a particular domain tend to overestimate their own abilities, often to a ridiculous degree. This effect not only sheds light on our tendency to be overconfident, but also has significant implications for decision-making, personal growth, and even our overall well-being. When we're overconfident in our skills and knowledge, we're more likely to take risks that can lead to devastating consequences. We might invest in a business venture without doing our due diligence, or embark on a project that's way beyond our expertise. This lack of self-awareness can also stunt our personal growth, as we're less likely to seek feedback, learn from our mistakes, or acknowledge our weaknesses. Moreover, overconfidence can lead to a false sense of security, causing us to neglect important details, overlook potential pitfalls, and ultimately make poorer decisions. Imagine if a medical student, after just a few weeks of anatomy class, thought they were ready to perform open-heart surgery. Sounds absurd, right? Yet this kind of overconfidence is more common than you might think. In fact, studies have shown that people who score the lowest in a particular subject area tend to be the most confident in their answers. This disconnect between competence and confidence is precisely what the Dunning-Kruger effect is all about. The scariest part is that this effect can affect anyone, regardless of their intelligence, education, or experience. We've all met people who are convinced they're right, even when faced with overwhelming evidence to the contrary. This is because our brains are wired to respond more strongly to emotional cues than to factual information. So, when we're confident in our abilities, our brains release a feel-good chemical called dopamine, which reinforces that confidence, making it even harder to admit our mistakes. Professor David Dunning, one of the researchers who first identified this effect, has said that the problem isn't that people are ignorant, it's that they're ignorant of their own ignorance. This is precisely what makes the Dunning-Kruger effect so challenging to overcome. We need to develop a certain level of self-awareness, acknowledging our own biases, and being willing to question our assumptions. One compelling story that illustrates the Dunning-Kruger effect is that of MacArthur Wheeler, a man who robbed 2 banks in Pittsburgh while covering his face with lemon juice. Wheeler thought the acid would prevent his face from being caught on camera, as it would neutralize the chemicals in the film. Of course, this didn't work, and he was quickly arrested. What's fascinating about this story is that Wheeler was so convinced his plan would work that he didn't even bother to test it beforehand. This is a perfect example of the Dunning-Kruger effect in action, where overconfidence in one's abilities leads to a ridiculous and ill-informed decision. In another study, researchers asked people to rate their driving skills compared to others. Despite the fact that most people are average drivers, a staggering 80% of respondents rated themselves as above-average drivers. This is a classic case of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people overestimate their abilities simply because they lack the knowledge and skills to recognize their own incompetence. The Dunning-Kruger effect has also been observed in the business world, where overly confident CEOs and managers make reckless decisions that ultimately lead to the downfall of their companies. In fact, a study by the Harvard Business Review found that 50% of CEOs who are fired are done so because of their overconfidence in their abilities. So, what can we learn from the Dunning-Kruger effect? Firstly, we need to recognize that we're all susceptible to this phenomenon, and that it's essential to cultivate self-awareness and humility in our daily lives. We must be willing to listen to others, seek feedback, and acknowledge our own biases and ignorance. By doing so, we can make more informed decisions, learn from our mistakes, and ultimately, become better versions of ourselves. In conclusion, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a powerful reminder that our perception of our abilities is often very different from reality. By being more aware of our own biases and limitations, we can take the first step towards making better decisions, learning from our mistakes, and becoming more well-rounded individuals. If you've ever caught yourself thinking you're amazing at something you're really not, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into the psychology of self-awareness, be sure to check out my next video, where I'll explore the concept of cognitive dissonance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.